What's up, everybody? It's me, Stevie, Supersmallchibiwolf, Supersmallchibiwolf, and today we're going to be talking about what happened to racing games. So let's get into this. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is Mario Kart and F-Zero, and then I'm going to be also talking about other gaming franchises and give them the respect and love that they need. But I feel like this little part isn't going to make a huge enough video. Well, I guess, but that's just rambling. And I think this fits this type of video more. So let's get into this. Now, when it comes down to Nintendo, to get them out the way, is F-Zero and Mario Kart. Long story short, a lot of people make the claim of, due to, F-Zero not having a new game, it's because of Mario Kart. Nintendo doesn't want to compete with themselves because racing game genres, they vote all racing games, I claim that as a ridiculous statement, because why is there multiple new Pokemon games in a single Nintendo console? Wouldn't that be them competing against each other? Same with The Legend of Zelda. Same with Splatoon. Splatoon 2 and 3 was released on the Switch 1. Explain that. Fire Emblem released always on the same console. Wouldn't that affect the sales? Etc, whatever, So yeah, that's a few franchises, okay? At that point, you don't need more examples, So in my opinion, that's just a ridiculous statement, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people love, for example, there's subgenres, right? There's like a genre, like racing games, and then there's subgenres. Mario Kart is a different game than, say, Gran Turismo. You know what I mean? They are completely different. F-Zero and Mario Kart are completely different. Mario Kart is based on having fun, you racing, yeah, it has futuristic elements. At times, like you could customize your car, and then your hoverboard, the hover mechanic of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe related stuff, And what was it? They have, items to fight back. They have party modes, like coins and balloons and etc. And, it's a whole special thing, Mario Kart, what it is. Now, F-Zero is a futuristic racing game, and it has different mechanics, and it has different rules. If you're speeding down as fast as you possibly can, you need to worry about your health, because, people hitting you, the health could go down, you die, because there's no more energy, boom, you explode, game over, you know what I mean? That's F-Zero. So it's completely different than Mario Kart. The rules and how you play the game, the mechanics, everything is different. Compared with Mario Kart and F-Zero, the only thing they have in common is they were created by Shigeru Miyamoto, and they are racing games. But besides that, they are completely different. That's like saying Super Mario The Legend of Zelda or Mario and Link saves the princess, beats the demon, whatever. That's like, it's not exactly like that, you know what I mean? There's more to that. So that's my example of why Mario Kart and F-Zero could live peacefully, and both fan bases could, chill, be able to enjoy their stuff. So yeah, saying that, Mario Kart replaced F-Zero, or Nintendo has Mario Kart, so there's no need for F-Zero, that's just taking away sales from Mario Kart. Like, no, they are two completely different games. If anything, you should make that excuse for it. Again, I love Splatoon, but come on. And plus, let me just say this real quick before someone thinks I'm a hater of Splatoon. Splatoon 2 and 3 are different games as well, and everything I said, So yeah, the next thing I'd like to talk about, because that covers the Nintendo side, let's get to Sony. It's been a while since I talked about Sony and PlayStation. Hey, look at that. Oh, now I see why. Now, Gran Turismo. I love the classic Gran Turismo games. In recent years, there's been, I love when you go to a game store and then you see a good game, and then, people give you more details, and, the people who work there who actually are gamers, and, I remember hearing mixed things about Gran Turismo 7, such as a lot of microtransactions and pay to play or something like that. It's a lot, and the DLC being close to the price of the game. And also, last time I did go to the game store, which was yesterday, it was still $70 plus taxes. Like, dude, what? I want to play Gran Turismo. I have the PS3 and PS1. I'm good. If I want a new one, I buy the PS2 version. I don't know, whatever. But from what I could see is, yeah, not my top game of must-haves, with all the stuff and add-ons, I think I'm good. But I would love to see Ridge Racer come out. Now Ridge Racer is a different type of game compared to Gran Turismo. Hell, they're not even made by the same company. And no, wait a minute, mistake. I was gonna compare Gran Turismo to another game called Motorsport, I believe. Let me see. Yeah. So, like for example, the motor games or Wipeout. Wipeout and MotorStorm. Yes, MotorStorm and Wipeout. That's created by Sony. So, same logic with Mario Kart and F-Zero I'm going to use. A lot of people have made similar excuses with, Gran Turismo is Sony's big seller of PlayStation when it comes down to racing games. So that's why we don't see a lot of this MotorStorm or Wipeout. But MotorStorm, Wipeout, and Gran Turismo all have their own respected and beloved gaming mechanics and things that make them special and unique. And yeah, that's similar to what I said before. It's like Sony could easily make a wonderful, unique game based on, Gran Turismo. They've shown to do that. And, Wipeout and MotorStorm. They could make unique new entries, put it on the PS5, show people, look, we have new, we're going to revive the classics that you know and love and grew up with, and boom, have something unique and fun to play and for the holiday season, But unfortunately, similar to Nintendo, Sony just doesn't. They kind of forgot about MotorStorm and Wipeout, and that's unfortunate. Now, when it comes down to it, I think Wipeout and MotorStorm, they would, like I said, they're completely different games. All three, Gran Turismo, Wipeout, MotorStorm, they are all three completely different games than each other, and they could provide different things for different fans, and I think each one could find its fan base in modern times. And also, another thing is, again, making that excuse of the, it's going to affect the sales of Gran Turismo, blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, like I said before about Mario Kart and F-Zero, no, it is not. There's fans for everything. Not everyone's going to be into the same specific game mechanics or game rules or this and that, And I think MotorStorm and Wipeout is going to provide different things compared to Gran Turismo, and I think all three could work and live on the same console happily. You know what I mean? So that's what I want to say about that. And also, I want to give love and appreciation to underrated gaming franchises that have been forgotten by Sony or just left on the side. So there you go. Now, the next thing I would like to talk about is Ridge Racer. Yeah, because that's not a Sony game, that's Bandai Namco. Now, I don't know what's going on with Bandai Namco. Okay, maybe they're doing too much anime stuff, and this is coming from someone called Supersmallchibiwolf. You know what I mean? So, I think there's too much anime, Bandai Namco. Maybe cut that off and give us some Ridge Racer. What are we on? 8? I know 7 was on PS3, then PS4 didn't have any Ridge Racer, and then here we are with 5. Yeah. So, where's Ridge Racer 8? You know what I mean? It's like, damn, man, Ridge Racer deserves more love and appreciation. Ridge Racer is basically their version of F-Zero. Everyone wants it. Everyone would love it. Back then, it was, beloved. Everyone enjoyed those games. And then, gone. What happened? It's like, what? Oh, that's unfortunate. Now, I like to give credit where credit's due, and I just remembered this. Nintendo did do a F-Zero online speed thingy, something like that for their anniversary. What was it? I forget it, but just wanted to mention that before someone leaves a comment on that, most likely a fanboy. So yeah, let me say this also. When I like the big companies, they tend to be creative, you know what I mean? But when it comes down to racing games, I feel like a lot of them, they kind of forgotten that. They tend to do more of other types of genres, and I'm a fan of those genres, don't get me wrong. But, this video being focused on racing, I feel like they just, forget about racing games. I feel like racing games is being kept alive by, besides, like, of course, the main the main two, Gran Turismo, Mario Kart, third-party companies of like more like underrated, like more of like the indie type video game companies, or like smaller companies who's trying to be upcoming. I see a lot of companies of like that type of league. You know what I mean? Working on racing games and also announcing racing games and stuff like that. But it's unfortunate that they're not, they don't have a huge voice like, say, Namco, Bandai Namco, and they just have themselves. So that's one thing I wanted to say, is that new racing game IPs and different ideas and stuff like that, they do exist and most likely are coming out maybe every year, 2 or 3. I'm not sure, but it's more like these smaller companies that's doing this. So I just wanted to give that, throw that out there real quick. A little shout out to those little companies. So yeah, besides that, also, oh man, why didn't I remember this? Nintendo also has, they have Wave Race. So Wave Race is basically a unique racing game, but it's racing with jet skis and on water or oceans, different types of, stuff like that. I think you race in an ocean or a sea or something, but it's like all, there's like stuff like, where to go, so it's not like crazy open world or something like that. So that's another franchise of racing games that I wanted to talk about. It has jet skis, unique game, rules, mechanics, and stuff like that. Different characters with different sets. Now, I wouldn't call it a racing game. I guess if you could, Mario Kart has weapons. So, Snowboarder Kids. Yeah, on the N64, that's another one. So, Snowboard Kids is basically, you play like these humanoid penguins. So, these humanoid penguins on snowboards, you go down mountains and, similar to skiing down a mountain. You go all the way down, you reach the bottom, that's lap 1. It's a little cart that takes you all the way back up, and then you have fun. It has its own mechanic and stuff like that. So Snowboard Kids is another one that I would say should come back. I think Atlas makes that one, and yeah. So I don't know the history if they will bring that back or no. So that's just something I wanted to give a shout out as well when we're talking about like underrated, games and stuff like that, or companies that should get, franchises that should get more love. So yeah. Besides that, yeah. Oh, now another thing I wanted to make, another point is, I like I said, I like the big franchises. I'm not trying to spread hate to Mario Kart or Gran Turismo, So just wanted to say that. I just wanted to more talk about these video game companies and these franchises, because I feel like the more we talk about it and all that, maybe, people will be like, oh, yo, I just found a franchise I know and love. I never knew about Ridge Racer. I never knew about, what was it, Motor? Yeah, I forgot. So, yeah, Motor Storm. So, a lot of people probably like, too young in the PS3 gen or maybe the PS1, 2 gen. You know what I mean? Or the GameCube generation, or wasn't even alive. So I think it's important to keep talking about these underrated franchises so they don't become lost in time, because one day I hope to not be someone who tries to claim that F-Zero is a hidden gem. No, it's not. A hidden gem is more, in my opinion, of like people forgot about it. It's not loved that much. And it's unfortunate, I'm not trying to hate on these quote-unquote hidden gems, you know what I mean? It's just that, it's like, damn, man, did people really forget about F-Zero that much? That's why I love to give appreciation to that, because I love those games, it's really cool. And, yeah, so, yeah, racing games, I think they should get more love and appreciation, and, yeah, pretty much that's all I have to say. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, bye.